All right, guys, we're live. I want to introduce Nunzio Martinello from Akiflow. He's going to be on the left with us. And then it's your old pals, Ben and Trip. So can you get us started, Ben?
Yes. Can you all see my screen?
Yep. You're
Awesome.
live.
Way to go. Awesome. Well, hello and welcome everyone again to Business Time Hacks with IFT. Today, we're going to be exploring a somewhat new service on IFT known as Akiflow. Akiflow is a task management platform. My name is Ben. I'll be your host. Joining me as always is your other host, my colleague and best friend, Trip Stanford. And today we have the honor and privilege of speaking with the founder and CEO of Akiflow, Nunzio Martinello.
Hey guys, thank you so much for having me. Excited to be
Absolutely.
here.
All right, so quick rundown of the agenda. As always, we're going to talk about why we created this live stream, who this live stream is geared towards. We're going to have a section called Get to Know Nunzio and Akiflow. We're going to briefly touch on some of the native integrations on Akiflow, as well as some IFT applets that the Akiflow team has made for its users. And then probably going to be my favorite part today. Trip and I are actually going to pitch some applet ideas to Nunzio in real time and get his feedback for all of you guys to see. There will be time for questions, though I believe there's going to be both people from Akiflow and IFT in the chat. So don't feel like you have to wait till the very end. We would, of course, you're welcome to ask Trip and I a question, though we would like, if for today, if you could keep most of your questions about Akiflow, about time boxing, about productivity, so that we can keep Nunzio engaged here and give our questions to him for today. And as always, we will be giving away 1 free year of IFT Pro Plus to one lucky guest today. So real quickly, who is this for? So our fastest growing user segment right now at IFT is what some of you might refer to as, say, a solopreneur or a small business owner. Examples of this could be a wedding DJ, a podcaster, a candle maker, someone with a Patreon, or just anyone that's trying to make money on the internet. These are busy individuals. They're just starting out a business. They're wearing multiple hats. They're the CEO, the CFO, the CMO, the COO. Just a bunch of O's is what they're doing. And I think IFT and Akiflow make a really perfect combination for these individuals because the nature of IFT is that we help automate tasks, right? And Akiflow helps you organize and prioritize the tasks that you can't automate. And I think it's that synergy that made, in just a short period of time, that has made Akiflow such a popular service on IFT. So Trip, if you will go away from the slides for just a quick second.
All right.
All right, awesome. So before we get into Akiflow and Nunzio, I'm just kind of hoping we could kick things off just by getting you to tell us a little bit about yourself, perhaps where you're from, maybe you have a favorite hobby, and maybe a little bit about your career before you started Akiflow.
All right, yeah. I'm Italian. So I grew up in Italy and I've lived there up until 10 years ago. Then I decided to move to India to start a company. So that's what I did for the last 10, 12 years. I have a hobby. I don't have a lot of time around it. Like I used to play drums. So music is definitely something that I really enjoy. I can't play much anymore, but yeah, I mean, I'm always like listening to some new artists and figuring it out. New music, but yeah. Other than that, I've been an entrepreneur most of my life. I actually started as a coder, then I moved into startups where I was working as a head of the R&D department for a smartwatch startup back in 2010. Then I moved into digital marketing, and I started a software development and digital marketing agency 10 years ago in India. Then we opened in Italy. We grew quite well. We spinned off a bunch of businesses. So I've always been into the tech marketing field up until 3 years ago, a little bit more, where I was done with like classic businesses, and I was like, let me build something that can impact a lot of people. And so we started to build Akiflow. Actually, we started with a very different product. We got into Y Combinator, and then we pivoted into the current version of Akiflow a couple of years ago. And yeah, this is what I've been doing since 2020.
Killer. That's awesome. I am also a drummer, though I got married a few years ago, and my wife and I were living in like a 1,100 square foot house. There was just not enough room to have a drum set in there. So that was, the first thing that left. So I need to get back into it though. My son loves music. So, he's really hyped about anything music as well. Well, cool. No, that's awesome. So can you tell, I personally love Akiflow. I'm a card carrying member. I use it every single day. It helps me organize all my different calendars and just kind of place all those tasks like very thoughtfully throughout my day, which is awesome. But yeah, can you tell our audience in as simple words as possible, what is Akiflow and how can it help them?
Yeah, so Akiflow is a task and calendar manager. So the idea is to give our users a tool that can be a single source of truth for everything they have to do. And usually what you have to do is tasks or events you have to attend. And that's where Akiflow really helps, because we built it in a way that it actually consolidates everything automatically in the same place. So you can have multiple calendars connected. You can have different integrations that will automatically import tasks from your project management platform, or you can build other integrations like with IFTTT to have tasks come automatically into our universal inbox. And then having the two things one next to each other, you can easily build a plan, move a task into the calendar, visualize how much time you have, and kind of then work having a plan well in front of your eyes. So this is what Akiflow does. Basically, it makes it very easy to build a single source of truth that represents your time and your activities.
Cool. And then wait, how'd you land on the name Akiflow? I know you kind of started a different business and it just pivoted into Akiflow, but where does the name come from?
So we actually had a different name. So we were building a command bar, and our name was Akido, which was some sort of acronym that made sense. And when we joined YC, they were like, we had like Akido.io, and they're like, can you just pick a name with the .com? And we're like, okay, fine. Like, I really like the first part. I'm like, you know what? Let's put flow, which kind of goes with
productivity.
Flow is
getting into flow state.
Yes, it's a very important concept, a very important book, and we're like, okay, fine, let's.
Cool. So Aki doesn't mean anything. It's just
it's part of an acronym.
It meant something before, and then I really wanted to start with A because it's first in the lists, and so I'm like, whatever. Like Akiflow just works.
Okay, that's cool. I love it. Yeah, that's awesome. What is time blocking in as simple words as possible? And then, I guess I already understand why you made an app for it, but what is time blocking and how does it help?
Okay, First of all, I'll start by saying that it's the best methodology to plan your day and to organize yourself. And I'll explain why. So basically, time blocking is a methodology that consists into blocking time for specific activities, which is usually done on a calendar. So what you do is, you have slots in the calendar, which are like, it's your time, and you block time for the activities that you have to do. And it's such a powerful methodology because you can visualize your day, which is the best representation of your time and the amount of time that you actually have. And your calendars already have meetings and things that you have to attend at a specific time. And you can put tasks as well. So I have an activity to do tomorrow. I can block 1.5 hours in my calendar. And by doing this, there's massive advantages that you get. First of all, you are very aware of the amount of time that you have. All right. So you don't overplan or you don't underplan, both negative things. And then you are building a plan, which means when you wake up in the morning, you just have a plan to follow. You don't have to decide what to do. A list magically becomes ordered by priority or, by when you want to perform a specific thing. And if you actually block time in the calendar, you're also exposing your plan to your colleagues, which means they can be more mindful of your time, and they can also just know what you're doing and not disturb you maybe. And there's actually so much more positives that you get by doing time blocking. We can stay here for 30 minutes of me
no, you're fine.
But what I'm saying is it is the best way to visualize your schedule and to build your schedule.
Oh, totally.
And Akiflow kind of is it's a tool that is perfect to do time blocking because you already have your tasks inside Akiflow that kind of centralize everything you have to do. You just need to drag and drop things in calendar. You can adjust the time, and you can see, and you have your plan ready. And then, of course, since a calendar is not ideal to do this, because a calendar like Google Calendar is made for events, not for tasks. So that's why we built Akiflow. Akiflow is made for tasks and events. So it's very easy to move things around, replan, reschedule, figure it out. You're lagging behind, and it's very easy to make tasks and in calendar.
Yeah, totally. I mean, you could in Google Calendar, time block and create specific events for every single task, but that would take 30 minutes to an hour every single day. But in Akiflow, you've got your list of tasks, and you can just slide them over into your Akiflow dashboard, which is all the tasks you need to do that day and what your day looks like from a calendar perspective, and then just block off specific time for each tasks. Right?
Yeah. I mean, we didn't invent time blocking. I'd been doing time blocking for a very long time.
Yeah.
And it was cool because when I was interviewing our customers of the previous product, we realized we couldn't, that wasn't working. So we're like, okay, let's figure it out, which are the problems of people around productivity. And they were all resonating so much because I kept doing time blocking. And the problem was always a calendar is not ideal to do time blocking. You're creating events, not tasks. You have to manually keep a task list updated somewhere in your calendar. And if you forget to do something, it's lost in the past. It's not automatically replanned or rescheduled. There were a lot of limits of doing time blocking in a calendar only. So we basically built Akiflow around it.
That's awesome.
To collect things and then block them in the calendar.
Yeah. So me and Ben work fully remote, and my wife's a teacher at the local university. And she obviously, since I've worked from home all day, she thinks I'm just hanging around, going to grab lunch, cutting the grass. And all I have to do is just show her my Akiflow dashboard. And she recognizes that, every, 15 minutes, 30 minutes is kind of planned out throughout the day of just different tasks that I'm doing. So no, I've loved it personally. It's helped me really become a lot more productive just in my daily life. So one task that I have that's just automatic every single day, it starts at 9. Whenever I start, it's this 5-minute meditation task that I have to manually check off in Akiflow just because I wanted to kind of have that as a very consistent start to my day. But what are other common daily tasks that your users add to their Akiflow dashboards? If you can share that.
I mean, we don't know exactly. We know if they told us. We don't really look at the tasks titles.
You're not looking behind the curtain.
No. I mean, what I have, for example, is routines. I know that every morning I need to check marketing spend. I need to check the metrics of the previous day. I need to start my music, put my phone on do not disturb. There's a bunch of things that I do in the morning to get the day started. And that's in my Akiflow. It's a recurrent task with a lot of links to the dashboards and so on. A lot of people actually use Akiflow to help them with the routines.
Yep.
And so they set it up in a way where you kind of build your ideal schedule. You want to start the day with this kind of activities. Then you create a slot for, I don't know, emails. You don't know which emails you're going to do, but you're going to do emails, and it's a recurrent slot. And it kind of like, it's time you have to dedicate during the day. So you just set it aside. So you're not going to plan something else. Otherwise, you won't have time to do it, right? So a lot of our users, they kind of like put routines and then times for things that they have to happen during the day. And the rest of the plan is basically whatever comes up weekly or daily.
Yeah.
So,
Cool. No, that's great. Well, thank you so much. I think Ben's got one other question. We can bounce back to the slides.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Trip. So just to give the audience a little behind the scenes look into a conversation we were having. Trip was telling Nunzio how long he's been using Akiflow. And I have an Akiflow account, but I have, I'm just really kind of dipping my toes into the shallow end of the productivity platform pool at this point in my career. And I still will sometimes start my day with a notepad, and I'll write down a list of things that I have to do. And I only tell everybody that, I only admit that because I think that there might be a lot of people that are starting a business, or they already have a business. They're wearing all these hats. They're all these different O's, and they're trying to find a way to be more productive. But they say, okay, well, I need to get a productivity app, and they download something like Akiflow, but it might be overwhelming just to immediately integrate everything or immediately just start putting all their tasks together. They've had a way they've done things for so long. So I guess with that buildup, my question, Nunzio, is what advice do you have for someone that is very busy and just trying to get started in being more productive on a tool like Akiflow?
Yeah. All right. Other than reading all our guides, which tells a lot about productivity and what's the best way to organize yourself. No, actually, what I recommend to a lot of people is to try to build the easiest to maintain system as possible. And the reason is it gives us a sense of calm to have a system that is very complicated and organized, and every task has a priority, and every task has a tag, and you can filter, you can build lists and so on. But in reality, especially if you're very busy, you have a lot of tasks coming in every day. I do around 80 tasks every day, right?
Yeah.
So if I have to actually maintain a system, a complicated system, I would just I would fail after 2 days. All right.
Totally.
And then you feel like your system is failing, starts to become a mess. You can't trust it anymore. You go back into pen and paper for a couple of days, and then you realize there's too many tasks for pen and papers, and you try a new tool. So the idea is you don't really need a complicated system. You just need a system that will help you work on the most important things and plan things according to your goals. And make sure that other relevant information or any other task will just come into your system at the right time when you need it.
I love that.
So instead of trying to overcomplicate a system, just consider that if it works for you to just build a plan with the 10 tasks of the week and snooze everything else for Friday afternoon, and it works without. Most of the time, you don't need to write down the priority of a task. You know it by reading the title, right? So what's the point? Sometimes, so it really depends on what kind of work you do and how many tasks you have and so on. But reality is, the less you have to maintain your system, the better.
No, I completely agree with that. Yeah. So Tiago Forte is a productivity guru. He's written a book. He kind of touts this para method, and I tried, I set up my whole para method inside of Notion. I tried doing everything first in, and then organizing everything. And I found like I was spending, you know, over an hour a day, just like organizing all my tasks. And that was just way too much for me. So that's kind of how I built my own like Akiflow system, where all I have to do is if a new task comes in, I either, you know, tag it in Slack and create a new task, create a ClickUp event, it creates a new task, or do a Google task on my phone and it creates a new task, you know, and then every morning I spend, you know, 10, 15 minutes just organizing it, and I'm good for the rest of the day. So,
yeah.
I mean, as long as you don't lose information, you end up, and you can trust that whatever you push into your Akiflow or whatever tool you use,
it stays there.
It's gonna be addressed at the right time. Then that's a perfect system. You don't need to
Thank
build
you.
anything else.
I appreciate that. Yeah. I've got one more question. And so you're the CEO of a productivity app. All right. So do all of your friends and family just think you're like superhuman? You know, every task they ask of you, you're just going to accomplish as quick as possible?
You know, not too many. Like my family doesn't really get what I do, I guess. But and I have a lot of friends that are really outside this whole kind of
productivity
scene.
space.
But but I mean, they do know that I'm like, I never miss any information. Like, and I'm very organized. So that sometimes they come to me and they're like, okay, like, you know, how can you help? But yeah, I mean, yeah, not really. Also, like, I've always really struggled with my productivity. Like, that's also how
that's why you built an app,
Akiflow, right? Yes. So it's not like I was the hyper productive person throughout my life, right? I became eventually. I had to learn. So yeah, I definitely had the pain. That's why I created the solution.
That's awesome. Well, it's definitely helping me.
Awesome. Well, yeah. Trip, could you actually go back to the slides?
We've got the slides up.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so Nunzio, I wanted to quickly, as I'm sure you could have guessed, we at IFT are very big fans of integrations. So I wanted to quickly touch on the fact that you guys have been, we know how difficult it is to build an integration. And I think, you know, time blocking is kind of the methodology that y'all use. But one of the things that makes Akiflow what it is these native integrations that you have. If my math's correct, looks like you have 11 here. So I kind of want to know, is there, you know, do you have any, you don't have to give me specific services or, you know, announce something ahead of time, but do you have kind of like a wish list, or, you know, in a year, what does this list look like? Are there plans to add more integrations? Can you give us just a little peek into the future of the plans for the product that is Akiflow?
Yeah. Well, of course, integrations are like critical to us. As I said, the first step is like helping people building a universal inbox of everything, like a single source of truth. So, and doing it manually takes time. That's why the first thing we did is like, let's just grab the tasks and events automatically, so people just find them in their Akiflow, and they don't end up wasting time, you know, going around 5 different tools. So we are working on new integrations, and few of them I'm very excited about, are like everything Microsoft, so Outlook, Teams, and so on. They're gonna come real soon by the end of the year. Nice. And we're really excited about this because our users have been like complaining we didn't integrate with those yet, which I mean, I kind of understand, of course, that those are massive buckets of, you know, there's a lot of people using them. So we are definitely going live with those. We will probably add, like, I would like to see linear integrated, which is a bit of a, I mean, we use it. So, you know, also our team really wants it because right now there's no integration with linear. But we're actually going to work also on improving the integrations, like giving like better ways to kind of manage tasks that are coming inside, maybe adding rules or ways to already plan or add priorities or labels to tasks that come in from the integrations. So we're going to work on these, and we're going to make them stronger. And eventually we're also going to expose APIs. Right now, you can also only, we have APIs with you guys, for example, where you can write into Akiflow, but you can't really read. So you can't use Akiflow as a trigger. We're going to work on those, even though, and because right now our integrations are usually two-way sync, which means if I mark a task that comes from Asana as done in Akiflow, Akiflow can automatically mark it as done on Asana as well. While if I import a task with IFT into Akiflow, it can be the other way around, and marking something as done. So we're gonna kind of habilitate that by opening our APIs. So yeah, this is what's next with integrations. I'm very excited. I think if there's any of our customers listening to the podcast now, they know that Outlook is coming real soon, and everything Microsoft.
Yeah, that's really awesome to hear, because Nunzio, I probably was going to email you at some point tomorrow and say, great live stream, thanks for joining us. Now let's build that trigger on if. Because I think that's like it's already such a it's already such a powerful integration with IFT, being able to send tasks from other services into Akiflow. But I think having that, that a trigger that's something like, task created in Akiflow, do something in another service, I think that's going to be really powerful. So really excited to hear that. Okay, so moving on to IFT applets on Akiflow. So you guys have, when you built the service to IFT, you basically decided that you were going to take some of the applets that you created on IFT and make them available to your users on Akiflow, which is awesome. I wanted to ask, did you have a favorite IFT applet on Akiflow, or a favorite service on Akiflow that's coming from IFT?
Yeah, definitely. Like, I use Discord and Telegram a lot, and I mean, basically we have an integration with Slack that works really, really well. And it's probably my favorite integration. I can easily save a message on Slack and it turns into a task. So I remember to reply or whatever. And but we don't have an integration with Discord. We're probably not going to build an integration with Discord for a while. It's not really like a very business tool at the moment for most of our customers, but I do use it a lot. And there's a lot of communities where I want to save information or like create tasks, and like Discord has been like my favorite applet so far.
That's
for sure.
I would say my wife's favorite applet that I've got running right now is Google Tasks. So I use the Google Task integration on IFT, and every time I add a new task on my phone or say it through a Google Home, it gets added to my Akiflow dashboard. And so my wife loves this. So she'll be like, cooking dinner, or like walking through the kitchen, or just walking through the house, and like think of something to throw on the classic honey-do list. And so she'll just add it directly to my Akiflow dashboard. And I kind of like it too. So I'm not forgetting anything that she wants, so that's been a really good.
And that's a pretty good hack. Huh?
Yeah. Oh, totally. No, I've loved it. So even if it's just like take out the trash or mow the grass, so.
Awesome. Yeah, I back to your favorite applet, Nunzio. I think the Discord and Slack ones where it's like saved message or pinned messages. There's so often where I'll be in Slack and I'll pin something, and if I pin something, it's probably because it's important, and creating a task to go back to that tomorrow and just revisit that and just say, hey, do I need to show any more attention to this, or was this something that I just pinned in the moment? I think that's a great one. So next up, Nunzio, we actually, Trip and I, have built some applets on IFT for Akiflow, and basically we're going to pitch these applets to you and get your reaction on these applets. So first up, And Nunzio, I want you to know, I actually created this one just for you. I know you're living in India. I know you're from Italy. So I figured, hey, Nunzio might be a little homesick. So I created this applet that for every time the BBC posts a new, releases a new article, and it has something to do with Italy, then that will trigger a new task for you to go and read that article or skim that article in Akiflow. So I want to get your thoughts on this. I want to know, one, kind of what do you do? How do you get your news? Have you ever thought about adding your news as a task to Akiflow?
Yeah, actually, I mean, I do use Akiflow to collect information and things I want to read or want to, listen to. So I do use it like that. I would probably not use your applet, but it's such a good idea, and I'll tell you why. So I wouldn't use such a generic applet because I'm very mindful of what comes into my system. And like I want to know, I want to decide what what is actually something that it's going to take my attention and it's going to get mixed with other things that may be very important. So I wouldn't use a generic one like this, but it actually gave me an idea, and I haven't thought about it, but there are much more specific keywords or information that I do have to look at. And probably I'm gonna set up a couple of triggers like this, because if there's anybody talking about time blocking in some specific places, I do need to know as soon as possible, and that's a task for me. It's a task to go and read that thing. So it is a good idea. I wouldn't be generic, but it's actually a pretty smart thing to
Well, you
to
can sorry, you can actually, so Italy was actually a keyword used in a filter code for this applet. So you could come up with a time blocking keyword on IFT, and you could also use one of our AI tools to summarize those stories as they come in. So you're spending less time on them. So yeah. I'm glad at least I gave you an idea. So I'll consider
awesome.
that one for
hey,
one.
Check that off. Yeah,
Yep.
That's great.
You liked it. All right. Next up.
All right. Yeah, approved. So here we have a lot of small businesses on IFT, and so they've got Google My Business accounts, and they're always responding to reviews. But they also might have a Twitter account, and if people are mentioning their business on Twitter, or even if someone's on one of their customers takes a photo of their business and tags them on Facebook, so they are getting all of this external information that they probably should reply to all the time across social media. So I wanted to run these by you. All right. So one is automatically take a task or create a task in Akiflow when you receive a new Google My Business review. And then the other one would be create an Akiflow task when someone mentions your business on Twitter. And finally, create an Akiflow task when your business is tagged in a Facebook photo. So are these good ideas?
I think that if that's your job and you have to actually talk to customers and reply to things and mentions and so on, these are such good ideas. And the reason is the reason is basically all these platforms, they have a notification system, right? But the goal of the notification system is not to manage the task that you have, is more to notify you that there has been a comment, right? And sometimes if you're lucky, you just have to go through the notification and reply immediately, and it is straightforward. But some other times you need time to reply, you need to talk to customer care, you need to talk to the coders, you need to figure it out what to reply. It takes time, and you saw the notification but you can't work on it right now. But those are tasks that you can't miss. So if they are created in Akiflow, they're going to sit there until you're done with them. You can move them to another day, you can plan them, but that's your work. And Akiflow can be you don't have to look at 3 different platforms, figure it out if you missed any notification. You just look at your Akiflow. Everything you have to do is right there. You go through them, you mark them as done. If something takes more time, you push it to tomorrow, but you're not going to miss a task, which is the worst nightmare in business.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Awesome.
It's a worse
So yeah,
nightmare in daily life too if I miss a task. So
Yeah, you better not miss one of those honey-do lists, Trip.
Right. Yeah, take the trash out. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay.
So approved, definitely
Approved. Awesome. We're 2 for 2. Actually, this is 3, so we're 4 for 4.
Let's go.
All right. Okay, so Nunzio, we've recently added some podcast as services on IFT, and this one here is called the Darknet Diaries, and basically it's a podcast, comes out once a month, and it's a podcast that dives into like cybercrime, right? And basically explains what's happening to people like myself that don't understand those things, right? So this one comes out around once a month, and basically, like, a podcast takes 45 minutes to an hour to listen to, and when it comes out, you may like, hey, I'll get to it later, but then a few months go by and you've got 5 of them, right? That you haven't listened to, and podcast management, especially if you're listening to like multiple podcasts, and you got one that comes out daily, one that comes out weekly, one that comes out monthly. Like, it could be a lot to manage. So this applet here, every time there's a new podcast episode for the Darknet Diaries, it creates a task in Akiflow. So I'll ask you, have you ever considered adding your podcast as task? And do you have a podcast that you listen to? And if so, what is that podcast? And if not, where do you go for your digital media? Digital entertainment.
Yeah, so let's start from the last question. So I don't really listen. I don't really listen to podcasts. Like and the reason is like it's a bit stupid, but like I'm not a native English speaker, so I need to visualize something that I'm some information, but like just audio while I'm doing something else is not really
gets
registering well.
Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, I don't really listen to a lot of podcasts. Maybe I read about the or I look at them whenever there's a video. But no, I have like most of the content that I read or like listens to are more like we have a group with other founders and friends where like everybody only shares information that they actually read and they think it's valid. So it's like kind of curated by a bunch of friends. So I usually go with that. And then, of course, there's a lot I need to read about startups or productivity or what's happening. So that those comes from newsletters and so on. Regarding your idea, so the thing is like if that's an important activity for you, like it's part of your work, or even if it's not part of your work but it's part of what like your personal routine needs, like that you'd want to do that, you need to make time for it, then it's a good idea to actually have automatically imported and lock 1 hour of your time automatically. So it's just gonna be there, you're gonna do it on Thursday at 4 p.m. Whatever, and it just goes there. Like,
don't give it to him. Ben's just trying to sell you
only a risk about having things that are not mandatory, that you don't really want to do them and just try to collect them, is that they're gonna mess a bit with your schedule and with the things you have to look at, right? And they start to pile up, and even if they're not important, it still looks like you're not reading everything you should read, or like you're not listening to like sometimes you're just creating stress for yourself just by saying, oh, there are 5 episodes and I haven't listened to them. I mean, if that's important for your work, good. Otherwise,
The Darknet Diaries is not important for our work.
Well, okay, no, it's not. All right, so we'll mark this one. We'll mark this one as a no. So we're 2 for 3.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's okay. It's what we came to see. All right, go on to the next one.
All right, so here's this one. I think is just a no-brainer. All right, so we have a lot of small businesses on IFT. They're getting new leads all the time, and it might be someone signing up for their MailChimp newsletter, or they've got like a Google ad campaign going, and they've got leads coming from that direction, or Facebook ads going, and they've got leads coming from that direction. Would you say that creating a new Akiflow task for new MailChimp subscribers, new Google ad leads, and new Facebook leads to like respond to those people and maybe reach out and call them is a good idea.
Definitely, it's definitely a good idea.
Oh,
Yeah,
totally.
and it really depends. Like if that's your job, again, if those are your tasks, you have to do them. Like you need them written somewhere, right? So if you don't have a CRM that is already integrated with all of these, and usually CRM are not this cool, like that they do not integrate with MailChimp, many of them, and like of course there will be some, but there's always a new channel which is gonna come on IFT before your CRM integration. So it is such a good idea. Like if there's a lead, I need to call it today. So I'm gonna automatically plan the task for today. I'm gonna be done today when I reply to all leads. And like maybe I got a bunch of them, and I know I'll dedicate 30 minutes in 2 hours to all of them. Fine, I can just put them in
throw it over into Akiflow.
In a slot on Akiflow, and the slot is gonna be like sales calls of the day, and I'm just gonna manage my leads. So it is a really good idea. It's again, you only have to look at Akiflow to know what you have to do today. If your job is to manage leads, then these applets will just save you a lot of time to just look at one place and not 3 different places.
Killer. I love it.
Awesome. We are 3 for 4 now. All right.
Oh, that was awesome.
So this is the final one. So Nunzio, I don't know if you're aware of this, but IFT is on. We're on desktop, but we also have an iOS and Android version of IFT. And one of the tools that comes along with the iOS and Android version is that we have certain widgets. And one of those is a note widget. It's very popular on IFT. So you build an applet, like here in the middle. You build an applet, create a new Akiflow task with a simple note. So you write a note in your note widget, and that becomes a task on Akiflow. So the idea here is I'm on the go. I'm in my Uber. I'm having lunch. I think of something. I'm like, oh, I have an idea that I want to explore, or I have a task that I want to create, or whatever the case may be. And you simply open up your note widget and you type it in real quick. You hit send, and it becomes a task in Akiflow. So 2 questions. The first one, what do you think of this applet? The second one, and be careful with this second one, because you might alienate some people. Are you team iOS or team Android?
All right. So let's talk.
You can also
talk about the first question. So I like the applet, and I like everything that kind of removes friction from getting a task into your inbox, and or moving one information from one place to another. And what you guys do here is really cool. And I actually have other ideas related to this, but the concept is basically I'm in a situation where I have an information and I need to turn it into a task, and wherever the app, like for example Akiflow in this case, or the service that I use is not at a one-click distance. I can use a software like a shortcut to do something. It's an amazing idea. And sometimes now I was thinking about it when actually we talked before, and I kind of saw the new widgets. I'm like, you know what? I'll probably build a bunch of like one button to Akiflow task widgets. When there are things that happen throughout the day that you just need to take care of, and you need to remember, and it needs to be written somewhere, but you just have to do it. And I don't know, you see that there was a box outside your house when you were leaving the house, but you need to remember to pick it up, or order more stuff, and that's just a button that creates a task for you around that thing, kind of like the old Amazon one button checkout, right? But most of the time you have a lot of like tasks that are just like, I noticed something, I need to remember to do it, and it's never easy to like have an automation to turn that thought into a task. And I think with your system it can be really cool. Like you can actually create a bunch of buttons that are like, remind me to buy the milk, or things like that. So yeah, in terms of iOS or Android, so I just moved to iOS.
Okay.
I was on iOS 10 years ago. I'd been bullied into moving to Android by my software developers. We were actually building a smartwatch on Android, so that kind of made sense. So I just moved to iOS. I'm not sure which team I'm on at the moment. I start to love it.
You're
So
still
I
deciding.
think it took a couple of months to get used to this different way of doing things. But yeah, it works really well. I have to
That's
say.
the politically correct answer, is that you're still deciding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
I love the design. That's the thing. And all the new cool apps are still on iOS first. So yeah, I had to do it.
I've heard it said one time that iOS is for people that love using software. Android is for people that love creating software. I don't know if there's any truth to that, but that's the way I've heard it put before. All right. So questions. So Trip, I think you've got the controls. We got some time, maybe 2 or 3 minutes for some questions. Can you see if there's any questions in the chat for Nunzio?
I think we lost him. So we can just open the chat and we just reply, I guess, until he gets back.
Okay.
All right, where should I start from?
Let me stop sharing. I don't know what happened to Trip. Let's see. Okay, let's see what we got here. Unfortunately, Trip's the one that normally reads these, so.
All right, well, Dale said that he never heard of Akiflow, but definitely want to check this out. Yes, that's such a good idea. It's really cool. No, but thanks anyway. And hey, Raghav, thanks for the live. Let's find some questions. One of my ideas was just to have an agent tell me what to do one thing after another. This sounds similar. Was actually thinking of something verbal. Yeah, I mean, if you think about time blocking and what basically Akiflow makes it very easy to do, one of the major advantages that it has is that when you have comparing it to a list of tasks that you have to do that are not really prioritized in any way, and where it doesn't look like they have a specific order sometimes, and you have to ask yourself what I want to do right now. In time blocking, there's a specific time for each task. So you don't have to ask yourself that question. You just need to execute. The plan was done already. You just need to go through your list in a very ordered way, because now it's 9 a.m. and 9 a.m. is for this specific task. And 9:15, it's the next task. So kind of it helps giving you guidance throughout the day. I mean, you just have to trust yourself that that's the best order of things.
Awesome. We got a question here from Peter. How is Akiflow different from other popular task management tools?
Yeah, so we can go there's a lot of thoughts that we put into when we build a product around which are the best methodologies and the biggest pain that people have. So Akiflow actually looks at the whole let's say process of organizing yourself, from capturing tasks to reviewing task, planning, processing, snoozing, putting a priority, and so on. So let's say processing tasks, planning things, and then executing. So this is kind of the flow that everybody has to follow to be organized, right? So we looked at each single one of these steps and we tried to find a way to make it much faster, because we think that if we remove the friction for people to do the right thing and the right process, then they're more likely to do it. So if we look at capturing and building a universal inbox, we built integrations with so many tools. We build a command line to just drop a task in Akiflow. Then we look at processing. We have, an inbox and a plan, like your calendar is next to your inbox. You can push things to today. We have shortcuts to be much faster. And then we look at executing, where time blocking is a great way to execute. We send you notification for what are you supposed to work on right now. If you have a meeting, we send you the link to join the meeting. So the way Akiflow helps you with your productivity is like, first of all, it's at a 360-degree kind of system, and most of the tools are focused on one specific aspect of your productivity. But we think that by covering the whole funnel, we're kind of helping you, making sure that what ends in your calendar, so let's say your plan, it's relevant because you went through the whole stage of processes, which is you captured all the information, so you're not missing out of anything, and it was fast, and that you process things all together. So when you give priorities to things, you have a full view of what actually, what are all the things you have to do, and then eventually planning in the calendar and executing. So we kind of differ. Like, there's not a lot of apps that kind of integrate tasks and calendars, and there's definitely a lot of apps that do it by thinking on how do we speed up your way to, mix, to put tasks into your calendar.
Yeah, I sometimes think of Akiflow as more of a task manager, whereas I think you integrate with a lot of what you might call product management platforms. And I think some people, I often get these two mixed up, where I'll tell myself, or I'll create a task in my calendar and I'll say, okay, I want to, clean out the garage, or I want to renovate the bedroom or the nursery or something like that. And I'll put that down as a task when actually that's a project. I mean, and it needs to be broken down in a bunch of tasks. And I think that's where Akiflow can kind of really work very well with those other tools. Trip, do we have you back, Trip?
We can't hear you.
We have everything but your mic back. Okay. Well, this wouldn't be right if we didn't have a few technical difficulties, right? So let's see. All right, Trip, you with us?
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you.
Oh, perfect. Okay, cool. Yeah, this is awkward, but I'm back now.
No, it's okay. It's totally okay.
Killer. Okay.
We've gone through some of the questions. I don't know. I think maybe now might be a good time to pick a winner for the 1 free year of IF Pro Plus. Should we ask Nunzio to do the honors of maybe picking someone in the chat for a free year of IF Pro Plus?
All right. Well, I've seen, to be honest, like I've seen one person that is particularly active in the question, so I guess they deserve.
That's what we normally do too.
Yeah, but why are you making me do this thing?
Yeah,
putting you on the spot.
Anyway,
Nunzio,
you know what? I've seen so many messages by Dale, so I guess they win.
That's just, hey, we don't have a sophisticated way of picking a winner, so that is as good as a way.
Sorry, everyone else.
Dale, congratulations. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for being so active. If you would, Dale, please email us at marketing@if.com, and we'll get you set up. Whether you let us know whether you already have an account and your account details, and we'll get you taken care of. Awesome. Well, Nunzio, I'd like to thank you again. This has been such an honor. We had such a great time.
Thank you for having me, guys.
We can do this again one day.
Really nice.
Awesome.
Sure. Would be fun.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.